receive the data now. Let's see. Okay, we have a good connection, which is very nice for Germany. Germany has I heard Korea has the fastest internet worldwide. Is that true?
Right, yeah.
Wow, I'm so jealous about that. Germany has the worst internet you can imagine. It's something super, it's absolutely crappy. Okay, now we are live. Amazing. Let's see. Nobody joined yet, but that's fine. Okay. Hello, YouTube. This is Tim and Yehwan. Hello, world. It's amazing to have you here. Well, basically, this is a discussion with me and Yehwan, and I wanted to ask her a little bit about absolutely outstanding work. I have good reasons to interview her because I'm following Yehwan since a very, very long time. I think her look at technology and how to use web technologies to question the world that we live in, kind of, and the conventions that we've just learned through 25 years of commercialized internet is an absolutely important thing to do, right? And I think what's especially inspiring for me and probably also my community is that, how to look at today's world, which is completely technologized and will be more technologized in the future, how to look at it and how to question the status quo of all these things that we use as artists, designers, and creatives. That's basically why we're here. And Yehwan, thank you so much for joining. I'm absolutely excited and also a bit nervous. I've been watching all your talks yesterday on YouTube, and I'm absolutely hooked by your work. Maybe you can introduce yourself quickly to tell us about who you are and where you're from and where you're right now, what you're doing, etc.
So hi, my name is Yehwan. Thank you for having me. I'm a web designer and developer, but I try to make a website more non-commercialized and thinking about what can I do using this web technology and what is the limitation that we are having right now because of this commercialized website, and how can we break this invisible barrier of the web design and kind of expand it further.
That's super cool. So you are in Seoul, right?
Yeah.
And are you born in Seoul?
Yeah, I was born in Seoul, born out in
Mm-hmm.
Seoul, so I was almost fully educated in Seoul, Korea.
Wow. Okay. And I think you studied graphic design. Is that true?
Yeah, I
Mm.
I major visual communication design,
Oh, okay. Just
which
like
is the
me.
graphic design.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. All right. So I would like to know, how did you, let's say, I mean, you already told me that you've been working as a web designer in I think agencies or companies, and you just created this very templatey and standardized websites. So what I find extremely interesting is I know many people who design websites and they try to break the boundaries of the conventions, but mostly they struggle with having not the skills to implement own solutions for interactions, for example. So how did you motivate you, or where did your passion for breaking these boundaries come from? What were your thoughts, and why did you really kick off this very difficult path, by the way, to learn web technologies in such a deep sense by yourself?
I think that when I am dealing with the website, especially those templatized website, I always think that website is very much limited and only think about a limited users, and those a limited users usually doesn't include minor cultures such as in Korea, for example. We are in the Asian country, but we are not able to use our own language using the web technology, or even the domain, we are not able to make Korean domain, for example. So I kind of feel like this templatized or major user-centric web template is very much making us isolated. And I kind of feel like, why do we have this environment, and how can I change it? So there was a very basic motivation. I think that because my culture background is coming from those South Korea, which is a minor country, really motivated me to how can I break this ignore users, for example, or ignore cultures, and how can I like make it wider, and how can I modify this. So like that was like a very basic motivation, and I just really want to change this environment, because like I somehow was a little bit scared of like this environment going to those countries, to those like direction that and always pushes us to like follow this template and follow this environment. Kind of like I just don't want to do that, so I try to like motivate this web design and web templates. um and those motivation really just coming from those motivation, I started to learn web tool and web code, because like I thought like I need to like do code by myself to actually like realize what I'm imagining. um so like it took long time for me, I guess. Like it took at least 2 or 3 years to understand how the code works and understand how can I build my own website, and I'm still learning new technologies and new web libraries, for example. But um it wasn't impossible for me to like make my own website and start changing those old websites.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's very cool. Um, yeah, what I really like about your work, and what I think is absolutely, I'm dealing a lot with the philosophy of creative coding. That's why I went back to university to study again and to think about why is creative coding, or what kind of things can we do with it, not just in a creative or a artistic and design and commercial sense, but more in a way how we can shift our mindsets towards a more liberal world of technology. And that's what I really love about your project, because I think when we talk about the internet, we mostly talk about what huge corporations present us as the internet, like, these absolutely streamlined and commercialized environments. We think that, video platforms, social media networks are the internet. But what I really love about your work is that you show people that can be much, much more than this. It can be something that is completely unexplored. And at the same time, you show that it can be so much fun at the same time, and so individual, so everybody could express themselves in a way that fits to the individual personality. And it kind of reminds me very much about the internet back in the 90s, when net art was rising and people were creating web experiences that had nothing to do with the stuff that we see today. What do you think about net art, by the way? Are you into net art? Is that something that you've researched, or does your inspiration come from net art anyway?
I think I was born in 1995, so I was born after those net art boom was already finished, I would say, because like when I was like in 90s, I was only like 5 years old, so I don't really have any memory. Um, I just thought like the internet environment is really weird. I think that is because my background is graphic design, and when you think about like a visual communication design, there are so many like extreme experiments using visuals and making posters. For example, they try to like make more crazy poster, and that was pretty fine in graphic design field. But like when we are dealing with web design, which is the graphic part of the graphic design as well, like
Yeah.
people are so much focused on the user friendly or template based and UX UI experience. And I felt like that was really weird, and I can change it using those like knowledge that I have when I'm dealing with the poster design or editorial design. So I think that is the basic motivation that I kind of like, maybe I can change this web environment. And I started to do like much different experiments using those web technology. And after that, I just listened lots of comments like 90s net art and were like similar to those 90s experiments. And I kind of like from that point, after I already done this experiment, I started to research those 90s web art and net art. And it was like shocking to me that there were already lots of experiments using this web technology when we first have this web technology. But like at one point, people stopped doing that because of the cooperation, or because they don't really think that internet is the best place to do the experiments. I don't really know, but like it was really shocking to me. And after that, I really fell in love to the net art. But like I would say, net art wasn't really the first motivation that I work in this experiment on web environment.
Yeah, I've got so many thoughts on this because I also studied graphic design or visual communication. Basically, I studied communication design at the Münster School of Design. And for me, it feels totally weird today because we are, the teachers that try to teach the students how communication works. And they do this through teaching typography and editorial design on static media, which is completely, I feel like most of these teachings are become more and more irrelevant because things are fluid, things are flexible, things are completely systematic and have to be thought in a completely different way. And when I go to my Instagram feed, for example, and by the way, I'm absolutely, I totally, I have a very, very difficult relationship with Instagram. So it's really a very important platform for me and my work, but at the same time, I feel absolutely inconvenient there. It's like I don't know if it's strange. But what I want to say here is, when I go to my Instagram feed, I see typography all over the place. People create new typefaces that look the same as Helvetica or Times New Roman, sell this as something very new, something very innovative. And I very often think, why don't we establish a culture in design education where we don't think anymore too much about these things that are already very good? We have to focus much more on the things that are really the way we communicate today. I mean, designing a font is, if it's like, I don't know. It's so repetitive. It's so conservative, and it leads to a situation where people are dropped onto the market that won't find a good job in the end, right? Communication is the internet, and designing also should include web technologies. And sorry, I'm talking a lot about that thing, but I find very interesting that corporations are making technology more and more complicated. And that's also a point I would like to discuss with you. You told me that you don't use that many frameworks, just as me. I try to avoid any kind of dependency in my teaching. I try to make my students focus as much as possible on the very core and the basic fundamental principles. How do you deal with complexity in your code and with libraries and how do you deal with that?
I at one point because like I always have that pressure that I need to learn all those like the web technologies that huge corporations do, so then I can develop the website that they can do as well too. And then I kind of feel like, do we really need that actually? Like if the internet is the internet that much better place? And even though I use the web technology, and even after I use those frameworks and make a website much faster, is that really what I want to create, and is that what people really want when they're using the websites? I do agree that those huge corporations make web code really complicated and make a gap between developer and non-developer and obscure everything, so then people are not able to even imagine what is going on when they are using the internet. And that really causes people to like stop really trying to understand what they are doing when they're using the internet. And I just really think that that is really not fair, because like people, especially like for me who are not using English as a first language, like all the cookie policies are in English, so we are not even able to like read it, but like we need to agree without any choice in order to use the website and etc. Like I think I don't really agree that like I know like at one point internet should be used as connecting people in all different countries, but at the same time, this obscuring and this not clearing the technologies that they are using, and this complex environment for the technology really doesn't really help us to like when we are using the internet. And I just wanted to make a website that is not using those frameworks and that is not using those complex codes, but still workable websites. So like I don't really say that that direction is wrong and we need to remove that direction. But I just want to say that there should be more diverse in when we are dealing with the internet, and the website that I create should be different from the website that they are creating. And that was like somehow like a philosophy or something that I want to achieve when I'm dealing with the website. So I try to like use less frameworks or less libraries, or like Angular or like those Node.js kind of like backend code, but just still want to make experimental website and still want to approach people using those simple technology. So like I know like some of my website looks really complex, but like you already know that in code side it's not that complex website, right? It's just a CSS trick.
Yeah, I think the trick in your case, especially also, is that you are using web technologies a bit different because you learn patterns or you're taught patterns yourself that, that you've just have in your toolkit now and you can use them. I mean, I'm absolutely blown away by all your 3D experiences. I know that I mean, people don't know how hard it is to use CSS to create 3D experiences. This is completely different than using P5.js, for example. I mean, in P5.js, we have this 3D mode and we can quickly create something very complex with just a few lines of code, but CSS is different. At the same time, it comes with so many possibilities, especially in terms of interaction, in placing typography in a proper way. So I think this is so beautiful. It's really, and also I also said this in the preparation video I created for this one, but I created this group Crazy Cool Developers about I think 7 years ago on Facebook, which was a community on Facebook which connected people that aim to create stuff like that. I mean, learning web technologies to create very crazy websites and create web experiences that definitely challenge the way how we perceive websites at these days. And but I think you are still at the very top of all these people. And I really like the philosophy to say, learn the basics, right? That's something I try to teach my students every single day. Learn the basics. I get so many questions about, hey, what about 3JS and P5JS? What kind of technologies should I focus on? I think it's much more important to understand the principles. And you can basically learn the principles with every programming language. And HTML and CSS and JavaScript is a massive foundation to create a lot of very, very cool stuff, right? Yeah. Okay. What about the School for Poetic Computation? I think Zach Lieberman is also a rising star on this creative coding sky.
Right.
What did you learn there? What did you learn in New York when you just went to the School for Poetic Computation?
School for Poetic Computation is school based in New York, and it's like the strong point, the best advantage of this school is that they have so much powerful in creating a community. So like they collect every year, they collect students from different fields. For example, there's like students who don't know like code at all, but like just know the art, and there are some students who don't know the art at all, but like has the background of the computer science, and they collect those students, and they have like a strong power to create community. So like we start to gather like a knowledge that we have, and we start to create something using sharing the knowledge and sharing the background and perspectives. And it was really the best experience because it helped me to like not only learn the code, but like somehow expose myself to the code area, and somehow like started me to think about, oh, maybe I can use code as a material when I'm making a visuals. I know some part of the code, but like at the very beginning when I entered the School for Poetic Computation, I was still like obsessed with this idea that I need to learn code from the step by step. There should be like some like a way that I need to follow in order to like become a master of the code. But like in School for Computation, they kind of like led me to like explore and like experiment code, even though you don't really know the code. And I think that really helped me to like create my own way to like build a website. And that's and India, and helped me to, like, for example, as you said, like I have like different way of using codes that affected me to like create different website or create different visuals. So like school for poetic competition helped me, like the school has its own lecture and has its own class, but like the best advantage of the school for poetic competition is that like you have this space and you have that friends that have different background, and we start to share information and knowledges, and like we each of us have start to find a way to learn what we want to learn, for example art or code or something different in that location, in that space.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I saw a Medium post by on the blog of the School for Poetic Computation on Medium, which was by a teacher. I don't remember her name anymore, but she seems to help people defining their artist statement. So I see your work very well defined. So it looks like for me that you have a very clear vision of exactly what you want to do. You've got these methodologies developed for yourself, like anti-user friendly. This seems to be the driving motor and the fire that's burning inside of your creativity, right? So how would you explain the process of finding that kind of artistic framework and vision, defining it, using it, and also what is necessary to do? I don't know exactly how to ask this question, but how did you find, what was the process of defining and finding that kind of vision for yourself?
So the main theme that I am still working on is anti-user friendly or anti-user centric websites. And that theme was actually I first started to work in that theme during the School for Poetic Computations for semester. Because like I was, first of all, I was really shocked that the information that I can receive in New York is very different from information that I could receive in Korea. Because like the still technology, you know, like obviously US has much more knowledge and fluency when they're dealing with technology, because like it's basically in English and it's from their culture. And I kind of feel like that was the very first point. That was the very starting point that I started to feel like this is not that much fair environment for that. This is not the thing, because like I always think that this internet is like it's like a utopia that we connects people all around the world, and we have this fair environment and we are meeting people in a fair environment, but actually it is not true. Like it really, the way people like understand this web environment and use these web environments is very different based on the culture and based on their like knowledge. And I think I first realized that during the School for Poetic Computation, and that was a motivation that I maybe need to create, or I maybe need to share this like an idea or the inspiration that I received during this School for Poetic Computation. So like every semester, every 10 week of School for Poetic Computation semester, we need to like do the final exhibition in school. And like that was the very first time that I create the artwork called anti-user friendly, and there was like a 3 different artworks there. It was really good because like School for Poetic Computation, there are lots of people coming to those exhibition, and I was able to talk to them and share my ideas. And those like experience of sharing ideas and sharing thoughts really helped me that maybe this anti-user friendly is the right direction, or the direction that have possibility that I can explore more and expand further.
Yeah, that's super cool. I really like that. You mentioned a bit that the sphere in South Korea is completely different than what you've experienced in New York. So what I would like to know is, how does it feel to be a creative? Well, I call you a creative coder because I've got some definitions that definitely fit into your work. So how does it feel to be someone who creates that kind of media art, media design, whatever, in South Korea? Do you have a community there for these topics, or are you a complete outsider and Yeah.
So my background is graphic design, and I didn't really have like lots of community in Korea to share or learn code. Still, like I guess I'm not 100% sure, but I guess Korea is still like trying to learn code. I don't really agree with learning code, but like exposing yourself code and like trying to like have the target first and use the code as a tool to achieve the target is the perspective that I have when I'm teaching or learning code. But like in Korea, I think there are still like people still believe that we need to first learn code and get inspired or create something using that knowledge that you trained from, like for example, like a coding school, for example. I just don't really like love that environment, so that is why I didn't really was in the like a creative coding community in Korea. I don't I'm not 100% sure, but like I think that um that was like what I felt from the experience that I have in Korea and in New York and in different countries, that Korea is still not very much flexible that when they're dealing with the code, whereas New York or for example School for Creative Competition is very much flexible, dealing with and accepting different knowledges for different code approaches when they're dealing with the technologies.
Yeah, totally. I get it. I mean, the School for Poetic Computation, basically what's going on in the US, from my perspective, is absolutely different from everything also here in Europe. So Europe is always, or is still also way behind. I mean, you've been in Europe as well, right? You've been on tour, kind of, being at the ICAL and at the Iterations Festival and all doing all these things in just a short time. How did you perceive that? How did you like Europe and your journey, and what were your impressions?
I like, besides this creative coding and besides my job, I always love meeting people from different culture. And my family personally is very much diverse country and diverse family. Like some of them are in New York, some of them are in US or in Europe or in China, Japan, etc. So I was kind of like familiar with this international environment, and like the environment that I like, people have different cultural background and different perspective is very much familiar to me, and I just enjoyed that kind of like a difference make new knowledge or new perspective, and widen my perspective is really something that I really enjoy while I'm traveling and meeting new people from different countries. So that, as I mentioned at the very beginning, I'm planning to travel in New York after um, the exhibition that I'm preparing in Korea, and like etc. I'm trying to like keep myself traveling and going to different areas and like not limited the knowledge that I already have right now. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay. And we were speaking a bit about plans for the future. What kind of, where do you see yourself in, let's say, a few years? Are you planning to stay in Korea, or are you going to back to America or something like that? Do you have any plans for that?
I don't know yet, but I want to keep myself like traveling. I know that maybe that is impossible because we have this environment that we're not able to like move like as we used it to do like 2 or 3 years ago before COVID. But I just want to keep myself like traveling in different countries and like keep myself as Korean and keep my culture, but still like want to see how different environment and different culture have different knowledges and perspective, etc. So yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Talking about COVID, I would like to know, did COVID also have positive effects on your life?
Yeah, I think, but we are still like struggling how to solve this issue, or if this problem is something that we can solve in the end, or is there any like solution for this situation? But I think I just wanna, so like in history, for example, there is like a hardship or there's like a hard environment, will cause it the art to explore further and create new art or new trend, for example. So I think that's in terms of like culture or in terms of like way people dealing with the aesthetics or the experiments. I think COVID is a hardship and it's the shame that we have COVID right now, but like it somehow helped us to like create something different or like think about what can we do or what can we expand in this new environment. So like I would say there are like a little bit advantage in terms of like a culture or the art, but still, yeah, I don't know.
It's a difficult question, but to be honest, I'm personally totally fed up with all these bad news in the news and in the
Right.
discussions about COVID. It feels like so overwhelming. I gotta say that for me, it also had some positive aspects, and I tried to focus on that as much as possible to not go crazy because, yeah, it's very difficult to not go crazy these days sometimes. But yeah, very cool. Yehwan, I missed to check the chat, and we have a few people there. First of all, the first comment is by my friend Justin Lincoln from Walla Walla in close to Washington. So, Justin, thanks for joining. It's amazing to have you here. Also, there's Kedar Tinalkar. Good morning, and Aneka. Okay, I cannot read Russian, but yeah, it's great to have some people in here. So feel free to post a few questions for us here. It would be amazing to hear what you would like to know from Yehwan. And yeah, Justin is very interesting because he is also an artist and a creative coding educator who has been very early already in this creative coding scene. He has this Tumblr blog, which was my inspiration back in the days when I felt like creative coding is an absolute outsider's activity, and he had this blog, fyprocessing.tumblr.com, where he posts GIFs and videos of people working with processing. And oh, this is, by the way, a good question. Did you use processing? Have you ever worked with it, or is that how do you perceive processing, basically?
I've worked processing. I think it's interesting because like partially I love coding itself, and I love like how to like for example like a mathematics can create visuals, and those code can create visuals is something that I am really fascinated in. But at the same time, I really love the web environment, that like this is an environment that people are joining, and like this is a new word, for example. So like I love processing, but like I stick into this internet world because like those the other parts that I love when I'm dealing with the web. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I still processing,
Yeah.
right.
Totally. Well, for me, and maybe that could be interesting for some of the viewers who are subscribers of my channel. I am, since many months, I'm preparing a web development, web art curriculum, like, to teach people how to use web technologies. I still, I've been thinking so much about what technology I should use for my teaching, right? So I feel very at home in this processing sphere, but at the same time, I see so many possibilities in web technologies. What I love about processing is that it is really a great tool to onboard people for coding. You get very quick wins. It's very easy to learn, and you really understand the very basic principles, which are very difficult from my perspective to learn in a web environment, like for loops, variables, arrays, all that stuff. Has many more obstacles in this web development sphere, and getting your head around these very basic principles is much easier in processing. But I'm already thinking hardly about or intensely about how to teach people use web technologies, and that's definitely something I'm going to do in the next years. The web has so many amazing possibilities, creating spaces for us, for human, to it's really great to create things that people can experience through a web address. It's just great. I love that.
Yeah, and it's more like layers and layers. Like people, like there are so many smart people who wanna like create their own libraries, for example. So
Mm-hmm.
they create this layer and they put like a new layer on the top of the layer. And now we don't really know like who started this tower of the layers and how can we fix this if there's any problem. And I think that really shows us like ecosystem that we have in society when we are dealing with web code, because like there are some broken parts but we don't know how to start fixing this broken part because like there are so many people who are involved and they were so anonymous, right? So like those kind of like small like characteristic that the web coding have, because it's an environment for the people, really is the fascinating part for me. And like a web coding is really interesting in that part.
Absolutely. The problem that I saw also is, what's very motivating is that through, for example, a technology like processing, we can create results or artifacts like GIFs or videos, which are very easy to share and to generate. So the way from writing code and generating a video is much, or something that can be shared on a social media platform, for example, or on a website, is much shorter than the way of creating a website, from my point of view. So that's also something I want to bring people into the situation to have success moments where they feel like, whoa, I created this and I shared this and people can react to this and can empower each other. So I want to make this way as short as possible. And that's also a benefit that I see in processing.
Right.
I see many people loving P5.js, and I'm also very in love with that technology. But at the same time, I feel like it's really, I've been fighting with this a lot, to be honest.
Right.
I've been thinking a lot about what is the right way. And by the way, talking about teaching, would you like to teach basically one day?
I do teach in school like one class in one semester, like a very small classes, and I do have like a little classes, but like teaching is not my major job for now. And I kind of like, I do love workshops and stuff, but like maybe I don't know, like I don't really want to teach right now because like I love creating weird things, but like it can be a little bit overwhelming when it comes to like new coders. And like, so I don't really am interested in teaching right now, but I think that it's very interesting when I go to school and do the one-week workshop, for example, that like those like limited amount of time and those like the inspiration or the imagination that students have is really inspiring all the time. So yeah, I think that is maybe I do enjoy workshops, and maybe the long-term workshop, maybe I consider teaching as a long-term workshop. Then in the future, maybe I would love to teach students.
Yeah, I've got some time, I think. It still can do
Right.
amazing work, and yeah, that's cool. Yeah, maybe we can. I will have a look into the chat, and now people started to post questions, which is amazing. Let's see. I did a work. Okay, I did a workshop. Obviously. Okay. Okay, so there's a question. I don't know if that question is for me or for you. Justin, hi Justin, writes, are you in touch with Yehwan Choi these days? Do you know that name?
Yeah.
Yehwan Choi? I've never heard of that person. I did a workshop as a student of Taiwan. I admire what he does, and I wish I could have done School for Poetic Computation to try to bring some of that spirit into the classroom, but it's difficult. He's a teacher in Walla Walla again, and teaches students to cope with processing in P5.js, and also he works with Touch Designer. So I don't know exactly to whom this question is addressed, but who's that person? Is it an artist?
Taeyeon Choi is Korean American. He created School for Poetic Computation with Jack Lieberman and the other people there. And yeah, I think that's like it's surprising that like the lectures or the classes or the differences between people who are the understanding of the code in School for Poetic Computation. Like the lectures are not, it is amazing lectures and there are amazing teachers in School for Poetic Computation, but I would say the best part of the School for Poetic Computation is not coming from the lecture itself. It's more like a community, and how people like keep the community even after the semester is the most advantage. So like there was some students who don't really know code at all, but still was in School for Poetic Computation, and kind of like 10 weeks is a short term to learn code, right? So like even the last day they don't really are not the master of the code, but still they were in that SFEC community, and that ended up helping them to create some different artwork that they different from what they have done before they come to School for Competition. So yeah, I don't really know that will answer the question, but Taeyun is I would say he's one of those people who wanna create internet, understand internet in a different way, and how can we like make a better environment in web environments. I try to like make the solution or expand the perspective by like creating a different website and creating or writing things about anti-user friendly and etc. He works on the performance side. He do the performance as his own artwork, and he tried to like he has like a similar perspective. I was affected a lot from him, so he has the similar perspective. He wanna like create a more like a fair environment and more like a different environment, but he trying to like solve or visualize it using the performance as a material.
Super cool. I definitely gotta check his work out. His work out. Yeah, cool. Nice. Okay, here's another one. I think it's South Korea is interesting. Yeah. I absolutely love your work, Yehwan. Do you plan, and this is a question by Eduardo Guido. Do you plan on releasing courses online or open a Patreon to learn more about your methodology and how you create your works? I mean, you already answered that, but maybe you can.
Yeah, I have like a lot of workshops this year, so I will be traveling a lot in New York, and after that I will be in Europe. I will definitely let you know anyway, not about that. But I don't really have plan to make an online class or etc. I for now I just want to focus on how to change the perspective that they have when they're dealing with the internet, rather than coding or the computer language itself. So I would more focus on the workshops and conferences this year. Yeah.
Cool.
So I don't really have plan for.
So if you're in Europe, just let me know. Maybe we can have a real coffee one day. Then we can meet anywhere. That would be really amazing. And maybe we can make something like a part 2 of this talk, because I really enjoy it so much to speak to you.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Okay, let's see if there's some more. The museums there seem open to it. I wonder why. Okay. He also, Justin also emphasized this Patreon idea. But yeah, if you need anyone who consults you a little bit in that, I mean, I've got a lot of experience now since many years, or a few years of using Patreon as a platform. Let me know. We can talk about this. I'm definitely up for supporting you in that. Yeah, I think for me, that was a super cool conversation. I really enjoyed it. So do you have any more things you want to say, or anyone you want to greet, or any questions you want to ask someone here? Let us know.
I personally think it was good to hear that you said like at the very beginning the talks that I have done like last year and the year before was very different, because like I tried to like expand my experiments, not only like creating something fun, but like more creating architecture structure. And if in the theme of the anti-user friendly, I'm trying to like explore a different way to like make a website or different methods and different technologies. And this year I have like several exhibitions, and I'm trying to like how to install the artwork in the physical place using web technology, and how can I combine this physical environment into this virtual environment is the thing that I will focus on working on for this year. So yeah, maybe if we are able to meet this year, later this year, maybe I might have like some different artwork using different methods. Maybe we can talk about that as well.
100%. Absolutely. I would love to. Definitely. Yeah, I think what I said in the beginning is that I saw your talk at the Talks conference, and I feel like what I see is that you become much more, it looks like you become much more convenient in working or in explaining what you do in your work. And also this overall methodology, this anti-user friendly explanation also on your slides on the Elizaba talk was very important for me, because I think this is really an eye-opener for people. They see that there is one idea that you follow, and this makes the whole thing much more easy to understand, right? So it's very powerful, and I'm working on this so intensely in my studies to define who I want to be and what kind of role I want to play and how I want to, want to use my energy, right, to bring something into the world. And I see the same pattern in your work. You've got something like this methodology statement, and it's very, very cool to see how strict you are with following that path, and how clear everything gets when we understand that this is the philosophy you follow. It's amazing. That was really an epiphany and an eye-opener for me to see, okay, this is super easy to understand, and this is Yehwan's song. Really cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining this discussion. And looking forward to meet you one day in real life. I would love to. And for now, I wish you a good evening. I mean, it's 6 p.m. in Seoul right now,
Yeah,
right?
right.
What are you going to do now? Next? Eating something?
Yeah, maybe. Thank you so much for having me, and wish we can meet later this year as well too, in person. And have a nice rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye, Yehwan. See ya. Peace.
Bye.
Bye. Bye bye. Wow. Okay. Wow, folks, that was super cool. I'm very happy to. Yeah, I'm super happy to be able to have such a lively conversation with Yehwan. I mean, what I saw from her on the internet was she gave talks explaining her work, but this also there were so many questions just popping up in my head, like, I would like to ask her this and this and this, and I'm very happy that I was able to ask her all these things. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I really enjoyed it. I will create a supercut of this video, of this stream very soon, and I will upload this to YouTube in the next days, or maybe next week or something. Thank you all for joining. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you soon. Bye bye. I will now deactivate the stream here. Peace.